In 1921, a Tibetan monastery was entered by British archaeologists who uncovered something considered so influential, so threatening to established power systems, that it was quickly classified and concealed for more than a century. What they encountered was a breathing method, so exact, so neurologically effective, that it could measurably alter human consciousness in less than 7 minutes. The monks referred to it as the 111 Gateway. Modern neuroscience is only now beginning to understand what these ancient practitioners already knew about: the brain's untapped capacity. This is the part rarely discussed. Your breath does more than sustain life. It functions as a primary access point to the brain's regulation and adaptation systems. You've likely been taught that meaningful change requires years of therapy-long meditation retreats or repeated positive affirmations. Yet there's always been a specific neurological method present for thousands of years, largely overlooked. The 111 breathing technique was not merely a spiritual ritual. It was a form of biological engineering. These early masters understood principles that contemporary neuroscientists are only now confirming. Certain breathing sequences can activate neuroplasticity at a level strong enough to reshape the prefrontal cortex as it happens. However, there's a concerning aspect. This information was deliberately restricted. The reason is clear. Individuals who know how to consciously influence their own reality-shaping processes are less reliant on external approval, less driven by constant consumption, and far less likely to remain dependent on systems that limit personal agency. To clarify what occurs in the brain when breathing is done correctly, consider the vagus nerve. It is the longest cranial nerve in the body and serves as a major communication pathway between the brain stem and the heart digestive system and lungs. When you guide your breathing in precise patterns, you are effectively sending electrical signals that shift your nervous system from a state of survival to one of creation. This is where the science becomes particularly interesting. Recent research using fMRI scans shows that structured breathing practices can raise gamma wave activity in the brain by as much as 700%. Gamma waves, which operate between 30 and 100 Hz, are linked to increased focus, expanded awareness, and what neuroscientists describe as binding consciousness. This is the point at which separate neural networks synchronize and support new perceptions of reality. The 111 technique goes further than that. It directly influences the reticular activating system, the brain's internal filter that decides which aspects of reality reach conscious awareness. For most people, this system is shaped by past stress, conditioning, and fear-based responses. This breathing method does more than calm the body. It actively adjusts your perceptual filter and reactivates neural pathways that have remained inactive since early life. Pause for a moment and take 3 natural breaths. Notice what that feels like. That light automatic breathing pattern is what keeps many people fixed in their existing circumstances. It reflects survival-based functioning rather than creative capacity. It supports limitation instead of growth. Now consider the impact if each breath were intentionally structured to strengthen and refine your neural framework. What level of change could that produce? The 111 breathing technique was originally found etched into stone tablets located in the deepest chamber of the Tibetan monastery. The inscription was translated as 3 gates, 1 breath, infinite worlds. However, it was only through Dr. Andrew Huberman's recent work on breathing practices and neuroplasticity that the scientific accuracy behind these ancient guidelines became clear. This is what the monks understood. The brain contains 3 distinct processing centers that, when aligned through specific breathing patterns, produce a state of quantum coherence. This is not symbolic language. It is observable. Neuroscience. When the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, and the anterior cingulate cortex enter synchronized gamma activity, the brain functions as a focused receiver for change. The number 111 was chosen intentionally. It reflects the ideal breath count needed to activate what neuroscientists describe as cross-frequency coupling. When separate brain wave patterns begin interacting and strengthening one another, thoughts move beyond simple electrical signals. They act as organizing forces that influence physical outcomes. The method itself appears straightforward, yet accuracy is critical. This is precisely what the Tibetan masters identified. Phase 1 begins with the activation sequence. Inhale for a count of 4 with the sense that you're drawing energy upward along your spine from the base to the crown. This is not simple visualization. You are actively engaging the sympathetic nervous system and increasing the release of norepinephrine. Hold for 4 counts while directing attention to the area between the eyebrows, the pineal gland, which produces DMT and melatonin chemicals linked to expanded states of awareness. Phase 2 is the integration stage. Exhale for 8 counts, making the exhale longer than the inhale. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system and increases GABA in the brain, the neurotransmitter responsible for a calm yet attentive state required for manifestation. During this exhale, you're not only expelling air, you are letting go of restrictive neural patterns and creating room for new outcomes. Phase 3 is the quantum pause. This was the element the monks protected most carefully. The still point between breaths. Hold with empty lungs for 2 counts. In this moment of no breath, brain waves shift into theta frequencies, the same state reached in deep meditation and lucid dreaming. This is when the conscious mind relaxes its control and the subconscious becomes receptive. Repeat this precise sequence 111 times, not more and not less. On the 111th breath, a notable neurological shift takes place. The default mode network, the group of brain regions linked to self-focused thought patterns and limiting beliefs, temporarily disengages. At that point, change is not driven by thought alone. It is guided through breathing into a different state of awareness. However, there is more than the monks originally understood, and it is something modern neuroscience has only recently identified. The 111 breathing technique does more than alter brain wave activity. It also influences gene expression. Researchers at Harvard Medical School found that certain breathing practices can activate genes related to improved cognitive performance, stress tolerance, and cellular repair within a short time. Dr. Sarah Lazar's well-known research using MRI imaging showed that individuals who practiced similar breathing methods for 8 weeks experienced measurable increases in cortical thickness in brain, areas tied to attention and sensory processing. The 111 technique appears to speed up this process significantly. Your breath is not only circulating air, it is transmitting information. Each inhale introduces new potential, while each exhale releases outdated mental patterns. The pause between breaths is especially important. It marks the transition between past conditioning and future possibility. In that space, the tablets described an idea that challenges common assumptions about manifestation. The monks observed that reality responds to coherence rather than intention alone. Visualization and affirmations can be repeated endlessly, but if the nervous system remains unstable, the signals sent out are inconsistent. This is a familiar experience for many people. You set a clear intention, imagine the outcome, and perhaps even create visual reminders. Yet time passes and little seems to change. The reason is straightforward. The conscious mind may be requesting one outcome, while the nervous system is still operating from deeply rooted fear and limiting belief patterns. The 111 breathing technique produces what they described as singular resonance. This is a condition in which heart rate, variability, brain wave patterns, and cellular rhythms align at a shared frequency. In this state, you're not only thinking about an outcome, you become a direct vibrational match for it. What makes this even more compelling is what follows. The monks understood aspects of quantum mechanics long before they were formally identified in the 1920s. They recognized that the observer effect, the principle that consciousness influences physical reality, was not just a philosophical idea. It functioned as a practical method. When singular resonance is reached through the 111 breathing technique, you are not simply witnessing reality. You are coherently shaping quantum possibilities into lived experience. Focused attention, aligned with rhythmic breathing, produces what physicists refer to as quantum coherence within the brain's microtubules. In modern terms, this is called psychophysiological coherence. Tools such as HeartMath devices can now measure these conditions. However, the monks were able to enter and sustain these states using breath alone. No external equipment was needed, only accuracy and refined technique rooted in long-standing knowledge. Recent studies from the Institute of Noetic Sciences indicate that individuals in coherent states may influence random number generators, affect plant growth, and even contribute to improved healing responses in others from a distance. This is not mysticism. It reflects the outcome of human consciousness operating at balanced and optimized coherence levels. Practice the 111 breathing technique each morning for the next 7 days. Approach it with consistency rather than curiosity alone. Set your alarm 7 minutes earlier, choose a quiet environment, and follow the sequence exactly as outlined. One element is essential. Keep a record of your experience. Note changes in dreams, meaningful coincidences, unexpected opportunities, and subtle shifts in perception. The monks maintained detailed records because they understood that manifestation is not always sudden or dramatic. Often, small adjustments are what lead to the most lasting and significant change. After completing your 7-day practice, share your experience in the comments. Describe what changed when you moved away from survival-based breathing and began breathing with intention and purpose. Here is what is certain. Once you notice the neurological changes produced by this ancient method, your understanding of your breath and your capabilities will shift permanently. The real issue is not whether the technique is effective. The real question is whether you are prepared to see what becomes possible when you stop living on autopilot and start breathing with clear design. There is, however, one more aspect of the 111th breath that has not yet been explained. It is something the monks regarded as highly sacred, and they chose to share it only under very specific conditions.